And welcome to this edition of Assembly Calendar. I am your host, Matt Vischer. Our guest today is Assemblyman Pete Lopez, who represents the 102nd Assembly District of the Mid-Hudson, Northern Catskills, and Southern Tier sections of New York. Assemblyman, thank you very much for being with us today.
My pleasure, thank you.
We're discussing a variety of topics, and among them is the Solar Energy Consortium.
Yeah.
And what is that about, other than solar energy? And saving money.
And consortiums.
And consortiums.
Sure. I would say to you, I am a very avid fan of alternate energy, renewable energies. And in our community, and this is just my take, we talk about all these wonderful things we could be doing to make ourselves energy independent, reduce our costs, lessen dependence on foreign oil, get off of fossil fuels. But we're not moving, in my opinion, quickly enough. And so this consortium was formed in Schoharie County and held an information session. And this was purely solar. It didn't touch any other alternate energy issue. But bringing the people together and looking at options, the whole premise is, how do we educate people on what's available? Two, how do we provide incentives to the market to develop a product that's affordable, and how do we provide incentives or subsidies to the public so that it's within reach? For example, some of these solar setups could be $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 or more. For any of us, myself included, that's a heavy lift. I don't know if I could do that in my budget, but with packaging rebates or possible low-interest loans, possibly developing loan programs through utilities, so you're paying your utility bill and actually paying the loan on this alternate energy technology.
Not a bad idea.
Then it becomes affordable. And so I was thrilled with this forum. There was a full house. There were probably easily 300 people in attendance. And for a small rural community, that's pretty good. And we left that with some tasks. And again, goal is awareness of options, subsidizing the manufacturing or providing incentives so that they will produce it, and then making sure that it's affordable to homeowners, businesses, and in many ways it's a game changer. We become more competitive economically, less reliant on the grid or on foreign oil, and to me it's a win-win situation. So eager to see more come of it.
What is the future of solar energy, really? I mean,
I think it only gets brighter. Oh, come on. I'm testing you. I was just testing you.
All right, I'll tell you.
But the technologies are improving. The costs seem to be getting better, dropping. And again, people are beginning to see from neighbors, geez, my neighbor just put one in, why not me? So as more examples appear in the community, it's a multiplier effect, like a domino effect. People begin to say, well, why not me? So that's my take, is it gets better as we move forward. And
ultimately you want to save money. Is that not the end goal?
It is.
And to be environmentally friendly.
It is. And when you think about it, my sense and the precedent has been that energy costs only get higher. And one of our former governors, Governor Patterson, had used the phrase that energy is the new currency. And to me, that resonates in many, many ways. You can't do anything without it.
We're so dependent upon energy.
We're so dependent. And think about it. Everything, our transportation, heating, food manufacturing, you name it, is dependent on energy. And we're also dependent on being able to flick a light switch or turn an ignition key and have energy instantly available to us. So that's part of our challenge, is as we bring these technologies, how do we interface so that we meet customer expectations, reliability, the affordability aspect. And again, I think I'll use another example. On a farm, they have 60% of their energy on a sunny day is delivered by solar cells. So washing, grading, packing, cooling, that helps make this farm more competitive. So there is a real business.
Cost savers.
There's a business and a cost savings piece to it. But it may take a while to recapture the cost, and that's part of the study. Is so you invested it. How many years does it take you to avoid using some alternate form of energy, some traditional form? How long does it take to pay back? And then you see real savings. So everyone has to make their own decision and look at what their situation is case by case.
The village of Cobleskill
Yes.
is in an area in which you represent.
Yes.
And it is my understanding that Route 7, as most of us know, is a major thoroughfare, if you will.
Correct.
Other than I-88.
Right.
Route 7 is a scenic byway.
Run parallel, right.
It's going to be seeing some improvements in the
It
village
is.
of Cobleskill.
It is, and this is really the result of early efforts with the Governor's Regional Council initiative. We have 4 councils that I serve in my 7-county region. So Mohawk Valley, Capital District, Southern Tier, and Mid-Hudson. So in this case, the Mohawk Valley District region encompasses Schoharie and Otsego counties. So year 1 of the Regional Council initiative, we pushed for infrastructure investment to create new jobs, and it's tied to another industry in the community. So that was a $4 million lift, and we just did a groundbreaking on it 2 weeks ago. So our hope will be that as the infrastructure is in place, that we'll be able to now retain larger employers. We've had many, FedEx and others, who've looked because of the location. There's rail access nearby. You're between 2 major exits on the interstate. It's all developable land, but water and sewer make a big difference, particularly for major job creation purposes. So this is an excellent start, and my hope is that this will be a gift that keeps on giving with new jobs and opportunity in our region.
So what's the timetable here? And of course, motorists can expect delays as this begins.
Yeah, my sense would be from a delay standpoint, much of the construction will be relegated to one side of the road for the most part. There'll be a crossing at some point. It's connecting Village Water and Sewer in Cobleskill and running it to the Howe Caverns area. So my hope is that we're using existing right-of-ways, state right-of-ways, so hopefully not a horrible disruption with traffic, but it boils down to it's a much-needed investment. So we'll have to deal with any of the side effects of construction. In the meantime, it's good news in any event.
How large of a project? Are we talking years for completion? Do you know at this point?
I think in terms of the timeline, well, they have to, again, we've done the groundbreaking per se. So the easement piece they're working on, but pretty much wrapped up. The engineering is done, and now it's just a function of getting the contractors underway. So I would say a year's time at most. So this construction season, if they can get some meaningful work done, and then we pick up in the spring and try to finish it before snow flies in 2014.
Speaking of infrastructure,
yes.
I know you recently met with the governor
Right.
in 2 community forums.
Yes.
Relating to a program that he announced earlier this year,
Right.
known as the Community Reconstruction Zones.
Yes.
Talk to me about what came about from these meetings with the governor.
I will, and just to rewind quickly, this program, statewide program, is attempting to help set a framework for redevelopment, reconstruction in areas that were savaged by natural disasters. So whether it be New York City metropolitan area or many of our rural towns and villages, the standing question is, how do we invest, where do we build, and who determines? So this is an experiment which gives localities resources to ask those hard questions. And I can tell you, it's very emotional. So people will say, don't abandon the hamlets and villages, reinvest in the businesses, and rebuild in the existing footprint. Others will say, don't do that. Build on higher ground, protect homes and businesses, and move them up, move infrastructure. And so the challenge is that it's probably going to be some of both. And if we build in the floodplain, we have to do it intelligently and encourage construction standards that make them more flood resilient. If we build on higher ground, again, we have to run the infrastructure and have the zoning, and if there is local zoning, but have the approvals that go with it to encourage people to keep these communities vibrant, but recognize that we're trying to make them safer at the same time. So this is a rollout, community by community. The governor picked a number of them. My understanding is it's based on the economic impact within the region, how much loss but there are still others who have not been awarded this sort of designation. So our challenge will be to work with the governor and say, geez, if we're going to do Margaretville What about Fleischman's? What about Arkville? If we're going to do Schoharie Valley, Cobleskill, Richmondville, Esperance, how about the town of Livingston? How about Blenheim and Gilboa and other places that have not seen that designation and may not get the same resource available to them? So, very emotional issue. This is really the kickoff. Everyone will begin to think deep thoughts about, okay, how do we do it? Then at some point, we've got to bring it together with the local governments and the public and say, okay, folks, here's what we're thinking. And we being these community reconstruction zone teams, which are locally set up, go to the public and say, okay, here's what we're thinking. What's your take on it? And it's bound to be very emotional. So important to do the process because we have to do something different. If we just build in place and hope that we're not hit again, we're just asking for trouble. And people will suffer again if we're not more thoughtful about rebuilding.
So this initially is just a meeting of the minds of state and local officials.
The initial forums that the governor's holding is really, it's a local rolling out of the program. So he's introducing the team, who are the people that he's picked, his administration have picked to head up the Community Reconstruction Zone team in a given community, i.e. Margaretville this morning. Introduces those people and introduces his team and talks about the importance of building stronger, building smarter, building safer, and being more resilient for the future.
So at some point the public will be involved, is my understanding.
My sense is that they have to be, because at some point there'll be some serious decisions made. This team will ostensibly come back and say, we recommend building here. We recommend building in this fashion. We recommend not building here. We recommend putting infrastructure here. We recommend X, Y, and Z. And so at some point, there'll be dollars attached from the Community Redevelopment Zone program. But to be honest, it suddenly is in the purview of local governments. And if they have comprehensive planning or zoning, there's going to have to be an interface between this broader brainstorming concept with the realities of governing and ensuring outcomes. So it's a long conversation, but hopefully one that will bear fruit and that people will embrace locally.
So this is going to be taking several years to
my sense is that people want to move as quickly as possible, because none of us want to be in a position where we're standing in place or jogging in place and we're not protecting lives and property more effectively. So my sense is it'll be very intense discussions. My hope is within a year we can at least have some of the initial direction and be able to test that out on the public and get their take, and then begin to implement. So a good process. And again, from Katrina to Irene to Lee to Sandy and the flash floods, we can't, there's different philosophies on what's driving this destruction, but
climate change is one of them.
But we know just in terms of the reality, we're seeing more intense and more frequent storms, and so we have to respond to that. Otherwise, we're looking to spend massive amounts of public funds, putting people at risk. And I can tell you, many of the people who have been through these floods say, if we're hit again in this fashion, we don't know if we can come back. And it's a physical presence. People live with that. And we want to relieve them of that sort of fear. They shouldn't have to live in fear. And my mom won't live in the valley anymore. She refuses. After they lost their home, it took her a month to get out of bed because emotionally it was just so devastating. And others feel the same way. So
geographically, that's going to be difficult.
Oh, it's massive.
Because you're going to have to figure out a way to move people where they want to be.
Yeah. So
essentially.
But again, this is a conversation to say, okay, folks, we've looked at the options in this community, and this is the Community Reconstruction Zone team. Here's what we recommend. Then it goes into the public arena, and we decide. We decide our own fate, town by town, village by village.
We are out of time today, Assemblyman.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being with us.
pleasure.
And thank you for joining us. Until next time, we'll see you. Take care.